Erev Tov covering. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, and of course, all eyes are on Venezuela. And I know I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying, Steve, why would you stand with Maduro? Well, I'm not standing with Maduro, and I want to kind of make that very clear. But one of the big issues that I have is I don't want to stand with the United States once again enforcing the rule of law in a land that is not our own. It seems to be the case. And I guess many of you guys may have forgotten how that we've been told by sources from inside of Israel that this has been something going on for quite some time. And it has also been that the United States, as I've been told, needs the oil from Venezuela more than the Venezuelan people do. Boy, that's pretty doggone brash if you ask me. And you know, at the looks of things that are going on, it seems to be just exactly that. Now, Maduro, just like Chavez, he has used some very sinister tactics in order to be able to keep the loyalty amongst the military. And that's one reason why that the military is backing Maduro, because he puts them in positions of power. There is corruption that is going on, no doubt about it. But then again, have we forgotten about the U.S. sanctions on Venezuela? Have we forgotten about all the things that the United States has been doing to try to topple this country for a number of years? I would imagine, too, after about, 5 or 6 years of brutal sanctions and causing the economy just to go into oblivion, I guess the people who don't really know who's behind this all would be panicking right about now. And yes, they would also be siding with anybody else that could come in that might bring about some kind of relief for the nation. So this is why Guaido, or Guaido, whatever his name is being called there, he's being the guy that's being put there as the president, even though he did lose by 1.5 percentage points in the polls when the election came up there. But the United States is still saying he's the winner. Now, again, since when do we have a right to interfere with other elections? Oh, I'm sorry. Isn't that what we've been accusing other nations of doing? But now we're going to interfere once again, even as Obama went down to Israel to interfere in the elections there. But yet we say Russia is always the one meddling in other people's elections. But once again, the United States is meddling in yet another country's affairs. And I don't doubt a bit in the world that Maduro has not got a lot of corruption in his own government. People say that he's a dictator. His country is in turmoil. And it got there with a tremendous help of the United States, CIA, even, of course, Mossad agents working inside of Venezuela. All these groups have been there to topple this nation from the beginning. Now, RT, and we're not just going to use RT either, says, good for business. Trump advisor Bolton admits U.S. interest in Venezuela is oil capabilities. Well, you could hear it for yourself if you don't believe me. Let's take a listen to exactly what is said here.
We have a lot of those Cisco assets right here in the U.S. Is that something, for example, sir, that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, we're in conversation with major American companies now that are either in Venezuela or, in the case of Citgo, here in the United States. I think we're trying to get to the same end result here. Venezuela is one of the 3 countries I call the troika of tyranny. It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States. We both have a lot in...
Be good for the people of Venezuela. But notice, though, it's good for America first. Exactly what's being said to me, and I have been reporting to you guys now for weeks, if not months already, that this was the entire objective to begin with, not to mention the 3rd largest gold producer. Now, of course, Russia building a military base on an island off the coast of Venezuela, putting it into the hemisphere of the United States, it's not my idea either of peace and safety. But that's not the reason why we're there. Once again, to rob a country of its natural resources, and of course because we couldn't control the drug trade coming out of there, and therefore the United States had to make sure that they get someone in there that they can. But don't forget that the guy they're wanting to put in power there is a Jesuit-trained individual. Let me just put it like that. Plain and simple, he's the United States' choice. Yeah, he's got a lot of people behind him because they're tired of starving after all that the U.S. has been brutally beating this country to nothing. Yeah, it's not a good place, and it's not a good situation there. I get that, guys. I understand. Maduro is not some kind of guy you really would want to have to be your leader, no doubt. But there's others, including one guy on YouTube there. His name is Florida Marquis. He actually puts out his video there, and he's got an interesting point. I want you to listen to this just for a moment. If I understand right, the guy here is actually not the guy who's got on the screen. This is the guy this is the U.S. backed puppet president they want to have in. And but listen to what he says here, because from what I've been told, he's from Venezuela, living in the United States now, and he talks about the situation. Listen in.
And then they tried multiple times to kill Maduro. You are a last resort. The U.S. government doesn't believe in you, doesn't believe in your ideas. You're a tool. You are a tool, and if they are successful, you will be thrown away and gotten rid of, more than likely because you are a liability. And I need to, if there's any Venezuelans within the sound of my voice, I need to ask you an honest question. Would you rather have someone who's driven a bus, worked a double shift, had to earn a paycheck, someone who stood a post, served as a soldier, the ideas of these people? Would you rather have these, or would you rather have the United States telling you who your leader should be? See, this is what the U.S. right here cannot afford to have happen again. The reason I brought this up is because this shows why everything changed after January 10th of this year. You see, this election back in 2013 showed that it was a close election and that there were two parties vying for control of Venezuela, and the Chavistas won by 1.5%. We have elections like this in our country. The U.S. could not afford...
So we'll kind of pause it there, though. The point he's trying to make, though, is let the Venezuelan people make that decision. And having all of the U.S. allies to go against this nation and force something upon these people is just totally wrong. Hey, vote in who they want. If the other guy's who they really want, let them vote about it. Not bring your military down there and try to blow up the nation and spend your months and weeks trying to destabilize the nation and years. U.S. military high command arrives in Bogota to review border issues. Isn't it kind of interesting, too, that Bolton, he intentionally runs around with his little pad there, making sure everybody can see it, that 5,000 troops need to go down there to Colombia. And, of course, we shared with you the other day that Maduro was already sending his own howitzers, tanks and military personnel up to the Colombian border because, he's concerned about a U.S.-led invasion inside of his country there. Yeah, of course. Rob the oil, rob the gold, do like we do, what we do so well at. It's kind of interesting. RT had on a special earlier, and I recorded a little bit of that special there, talking about down in Central America, the Nicaraguan conflict back in the 80s under the Reagan administration, and how Reagan always talked about that we were going down there to liberate the people. Well, friends, I have you know, I knew a lot about that particular conflict. I knew about the weapons being sent to the Contras, and I knew about the drugs being smuggled out of the country and being sold here while the politicians were all getting their kickbacks. Yeah, I knew about 30 Florida politicians that were being indicted. Let me rephrase that. They were having they were being subpoenaed to give testimony about their alleged involvement into money laundering. So do I think anything's any different from the time of Nicaragua? And we had American servicemen that went down there protesting what Ronald Reagan was calling this peaceful thing and trying to bring a transition for the people there when it was actually the people that were being murdered. Yeah, because America was running drug operations in order to supply the financial means to be able to arm the different fighters in the region. And as well, it continues on and it does that around the world today. It's no different. And don't think current administration is any different. And don't think the Democrat or Republican one is better than the other. No, they're pretty much all guilty. I'm sure there's a few good ones out there somewhere. I just don't know who they really are. And that should concern every American citizen. Well, it looks like, though, that they have started already some terrorism types of activities here, or at least the explosion of a tanker there in Venezuela is being reported by this particular gentleman here on your screen. And we can actually play a little of the video there showing that actual explosion of the tanker there in the port. Maybe it is an accident. Maybe it's a sabotage. Not really sure, but nonetheless, kind of interesting that all these things are happening right about this time. But this is where the big issue comes in, and this is what I brought out on the news itself, and that is, and this is in the Russian language, this is on novagazeta.ru, a Russian website. Mysterious Norwegian Airlines civil flight took off from Moscow to the Caracas. It can deliver 500 passengers to Venezuela and maybe take 500 people out of the country. But the interesting thing is this plane took off with no passengers on board, and there is a big suspicion of wondering what it's going to Venezuela for then. Could it be that Maduro himself may actually be planning on either evacuating and going to Moscow, or possibly his family? That's something yet to be seen, and I don't know the answer to that either. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Of course, don't forget, too, that could also be the fact maybe they say there's no one on board and they could be taking troops down there. That's something to think about, too. Oh, by the way, let me mention one other thing, too, real quick before we close out this broadcast here. And that is the video with my wife. We posted this one on Patreon already. This is her in... she is there in Oregon, and it is not anything we've ever posted before. It is part of the speech that she gives there. I'll give you a little bit of a clip here.
I'll tell you how great Bibi Netanyahu is, how great the state of Israel is. It's the democracy in the Middle East. It's so good. You gotta support everything. And Assad killed his own people, so we had to attack him. Yeah. So no.
Okay. This is just so you're aware that we did post up this part. We will be loading more of the videos from the conference there. L.A. Marzulli was with us as well. And we'll see about trying to get permission from L.A. on also maybe loading up some of the things that he spoke about as well. Very, very interesting time, and we certainly appreciated all that went on there. Bonnie Harvey, our good friend, and with Hebrew Nation Radio. Also, many of the people with Hebrew Nation Radio that were there. Also, the support music, the worship, everything. It was really a blessing. We sure thank everyone that took part. And even a little surprise guest at the end of the broadcast, Dr. Steve Pidgeon, was there with the Et Sefer group. And don't forget, too, by the way, if you ever want to order the Et Sefer, all you have to do is put in that discount code INL, and you will be getting, I think it's a 20% or 10% discount on certain items that you order from them. So anyway, blessings to you all. Shalom, shalom, and hope to talk soon.